Welcome to lesson 5. Lesson 5 is on weathering and erosion. Lesson 5 is on weathering and erosion. If you haven't watched lesson 4, go back to that. You should see that right next to lesson 5. All right, lesson 5, weathering and erosion. Let's start this. To understand how the earth works, you kind of have to understand this topic because it's essential to understanding how our world looks like. And our world looks different in different areas because of weathering and erosion. So first, we have weathering. Now, to understand weathering is pretty much the breaking down of the Earth's crust through wind and things like that. But it's the breaking down of rocks, of minerals, and of soils. So weathering could happen in many different ways. There could be mechanical or chemical forms of weathering. Now, mechanical is pretty much physical weathering. So pretty much wearing it down by physical interaction. So wearing it down by physical interaction is weathering. Now with chemical involves some sort of interaction that would cause the depreciation of something through some type of chemical reaction. So let's say this is a dramatic thing. Let's say we got some bucket of dirt and we poured a ton of water on it. What's going to happen to that dirt? It's going to turn into mud. So that kind of weathering kind of breaks it down, liquefies it, but it stays in that bucket. It just breaks down naturally. Now, this impacts the surface of the earth because if you look, let's say we're looking at a farm. If you're looking at a farm, you get rocks, and then that physical weathering would cause that rocks to depreciate into soil. And that depreciation to soil is what we use to grow our food. And then naturally with that chemical weathering, you could see like the sun rays hitting on a rock. It hits on that rock, kind of breaks down into different types of minerals and dirt, and there you get a nice weathered surface. So it gives our world a certain type of rustic imagery. Then next we're going into erosion. Now the key difference between weathering and erosion. Weathering is breaking down the soils and minerals. Erosion is the same thing, but erosion includes moving that stuff down. Now, if you've ever seen the movie Ice Age, in the movie Ice Age, you got giant glaciers, and those giant glaciers are slowly melting. And with the glaciers melting, that allows for rocks that were frozen to be moved. If you've ever seen the Grand Canyon, the Grand Canyon is pretty much due to years and years of erosion. The Grand Canyon used to be just a plain piece of earth, but because of wind, ice, and water, it breaks it down and then it moves stuff out of the way. Breaks down and moves things out of the way. So, main difference between weathering and erosion is weathering breaks things down, but it pretty much stays in the same place. Erosion, it breaks things down and moves them out of the way. So, you understand now weathering and erosion? Now, these two are very similar, but make sure you understand the difference. So that is weathering and erosion.